Well, if you live out near Nellis Air Force Base, get ready for some extra noise.
You're already hearing, probably seeing jets kind of zooming over your neighborhood.
There's a whole lot of noise.
Get ready for a little bit of extra noise.
Starting tomorrow, more noise.
We'll probably notice the sound of freedom a little more often over the next several days around Nellis Air Force Base.
Red flag exercises.
The next round of red flag exercises is
The base will be conducting red flag exercises.
Red flag drills begin Monday.
Red flag exercises.
Their red flag training.
Red flag exercises.
Red flag operations are happening right now at Nellis Air Force Base.
Good morning, gents. Welcome to Red Flag. I'm Colonel Jim Woods, the Red Flag Commander. And for the next 2 weeks, we're going to subject you to the simulated combat associated with your first 8 or 10 combat missions. You'll be attacking realistic targets, those targets protected by the aggressors and F-5s, surface-to-air missiles, as well as anti-aircraft artillery, and your communications problem will be compounded by communications jamming. It's up to you at this point to put it all together, all that training that you've had up to this point in time, to get the best out of this particular exercise.
So just after Vietnam, in the same realm that all the other services were wrestling with having to take their pilots who were prepared for a Soviet-US conflict into a much smaller scale, and the idea of bringing them into an air-to-air environment where it would not all be beyond visual range. The Air Force conducted the Red Baron study. And what they found out is that if a pilot survived their first 10 missions in Vietnam, they had a 90% chance of coming home. And a visionary, Colonel Moody Suter, imagined giving that new pilot those 10 missions in a safe, controlled environment where their life wouldn't be at stake, but they could still learn those hard lessons before they ever entered into a realistic world of combat.
I flew in the first red flag and the first several red flags. We had flown against the aggressors prior to the red flag starting. The aggressors were very, very good.
Your job today will be to look for blue air-to-ground strikers. We want you to go ahead and strip the cap of the players coming inbound so that 1-3 and 1-4 are able to hit the strikers prior to getting to the target.
And I can assure you that the aggressive forces, whether they're F-105s, 106s, the people on the ground simulating the ground threats, or the aggressive squadron are putting forth their very best effort.
They were trying to, at last, address training deficiencies, training problems that we had been kind of ignoring for years. Back then, we employed what was known within the flying community as the big sky principle. Lots of big sky out there, just don't run into each other.
Right behind them, 12 o'clock. Going out, stay with them. Going with them. Breaking right, still got them.
Red flag 2, 3, 4, and 5, we were losing airplanes almost every exercise.
Going down. Going with him. Got him, I got him. He's on the deck.
Most learning does not take place when you're actually flying. The learning takes place during the debrief. So a lot of focus has been on capturing what is happening on the ranges during these exercises and then bringing that in a replicatable manner back to the debriefing rooms so that those 4 ships and 2 ship leads can actually go through and find out exactly what happened, where it went wrong, and where there's room for improvement. The idea being that the more they sweat now, the less they'll bleed in the future.
The skies over Baghdad have been illuminated.
We had folks that made comments after they'd gone in and flown combat in Iraq and said, hey, red flag was a lot tougher than this. What they reported to us was that if it hadn't been for red flag and their experience here on an integration basis, they'd have been totally lost, not knowing what to do or how to integrate. But because of the training they got here just before they went over there, they said it was a piece of cake.
We take those 2s and those 4s, those new wingmen, those new pilots, and expose them to an environment unlike anything they've experienced up until this point. We've had multiple folks walking into the building after a 90-minute vol, and they actually just say, "What just happened?" And that's what we want them to get used to, so that when it really does happen, the actual nuts and bolts, the threats that we're facing, how we're scaling up our training, and what we're bringing to every one of those things, I don't think anyone would have envisioned that. But by keeping that focus on that realistic combat training and exposure to any threats that they might come along, that's the key to the endurance, and I do think that's the key to longevity.
Players change, the aircraft evolve. Our young guys now are so much better trained.
Well, there's been a change in scale, concept, all sorts of things have just expanded to try and be more inclusive.
It is now a much larger area that you're dealing with. We have aircraft engaging and fighting at distances that we could not have even imagined 25, much less 50 years ago. And we have to be ready to meet that threat, and we have to be ready to train the aircrews to do the same.
So we grade our pilots here at Red Flag Nellis with a pretty extensive grade card now. And the reason for that is because the difference between global war and terror and major combat operations against our pacing challenge is going to be vastly different. And the equipment and the training that we have provided our pilots that would have worked in global war on terror most likely will not work in what we're facing next. So the difference there between those two is a gap that's going bigger and bigger and bigger, and we're doing this to address that, to make sure we're prepared before that fight starts.
So we actually get all kinds of innovation and training and new technologies coming from a variety of sources, not just in the Air Force itself, but through our other services and even through our partnerships with our allied nations.
It's not just an integration of U.S. systems. We have allies we have to work with. You look at World War II or even Korea for that matter.
Red Flag concentrates on advanced combat training. So at home, we learn how to do the basic blocking skills, the tackling skills, kind of scrimmaging before the big game. And Red Flag is that scrimmage before the big game that allows everybody to play at the same time. It's that partnership that makes us stronger, and that all starts first here at Red Flag.
One of the most unique aspects of Red Flag is obviously its longevity. We are a branch of the service as the Air Force that is less than 80 years old. And inside that, the things that have lasted 50 years or more, you could probably count in one hand. But that mentality is not just the value of Red Flag, it is the approach and the attitude of those who work there and embrace that mission. If you look at our employment history, we have almost zero turnover. We have numerous contractors and civilian personnel that retired from the 14th and then put on the civilian uniform and came back because they believe in the mission. They believe in what we do. And they believe that we are making the Air Force better. It's a great place to work, and we all take a great deal of pride in providing this experience to air crews year after year after year, and we look forward to what's in the future.
Roger, confirmed in. Mission completed. Roger.